So yeah, when I was 12, that's what happened. I started expressing being a boy, but I started with like, I can't really say it's a fursona, but it is a character that was an animal, because back then I didn't really know what furries were. I discovered them later when I was about 14. I guess I've always been a furry because I kind of like, I was an animal, but like an anthropomorphic animal, but a normal animal, if that makes sense. So I was still like an on all fours animal, or feral, as it's called in the furry community. But obviously I talked and did like humanish things. So yeah, so at 12 I had, because nobody in real life would treat me the way I wanted to be treated, like a male. I didn't just have like, it wasn't just about me wanting to be male. It was also part of my identity disorder crisis thing, was also in other ways. Like, I also had an age dysphoria as well. Like, that's probably not spoken about as much or known about. But I envisioned myself as not only male, but also an adult male dog. That's what I wanted to be. I like the idea of being an adult male dog, so that was sort of my first, I'm going to call it a fursona, even though back then I didn't know what a fursona was. But I'm going to call it a fursona, but it's really like more of a persona, or an alter ego. So because real life people wouldn't treat me as an adult male dog, it could be an anthro dog, obviously, not like actually being treated as a dog, like, oh yes, sit, not like actually being treated like a dog, but just like role playing, I guess. So I had like imaginary friends who weren't really friends as such. They were more like my followers or whatever, because as a dog I wanted a pack, like my followers, like a pack of followers, and I'd be like the alpha dog or the king, or some kind of high up power. So these imaginary friends were actually like my imaginary followers who were also dogs. So I drew pictures of them and talked to them like you do. So my imaginary friends as a kid weren't like, invisible. They actually had a form in the form of pictures and stuffed animals. I tried having imaginary friends as a kid, by the way, but I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't really believe that they were real if they didn't have a physical form. So pictures and stuffed teddies were like the thing. So I had these stuffed dogs that were like in my pack, and these pictures that I would talk to and stuff. And I was like, like their master or whatever. I had a wife, which was like this husky stuffed toy. She was my wife. I was a German Shepherd, by the way. I started out as a Yorkshire Terrier because that's what my mum thought I should be, because she was dead cool with all of this, so she would like suggest things. So she suggested I be a Yorkshire Terrier, but I didn't really think that fitted me, being like a dominant male and stuff. I didn't really like the idea of being a Yorkie, so she then thought up German Shepherd, so I was a German Shepherd because my mum sort of decided on that, and I loved that. I thought that was more me. So I had this husky as my sort of wife thing, my mate, and we had like pups together and stuff. I know this makes me sound like totally crazy and everything, but this is like the only way I could live the life I wanted, that I felt I was supposed to be with these imaginary subjects. This was the only way, because I knew real life people wouldn't, treat me that way. Because I guess in real life, at 12, I wasn't really the leader type in real life. And I didn't have like many sort of cool friends in my life who would sort of like play along. Plus, even if I did, they wouldn't be around like all the time. Because the friends I had back then, I would just see every now and again. It wasn't like I saw them every day and played with them. Like, when you go to school, you're with them all the time, and then you hang out after school or at the weekend or whatever. It wasn't like that with my friends. They just came over like every now and again, usually if their parents were visiting, and it was never a regular thing. I did have a couple of friends that I had like a regular visit from, my next door neighbour, who I became friends with, that became an annual thing every Wednesday. And I had a friend that later on came when I was about 14, that was sort of every Saturday. So yeah. So I just wanted to tell my story because I know it's an unusual story and most people probably think I'm crazy or whatever. But I mean, I was a kid and, you know, it was the only way I could like really express myself, because I knew I couldn't express myself with real people because I knew they wouldn't understand. And obviously these imaginary friends, you know, they sort of didn't think of me as my real life self, pretending to be this adult male dog. They knew me as this adult male dog. In human years, I'd be 35. I like the idea of being like about 35. Yeah. And then my mum, like I say, she was playing along, so she would sort of say, well, actually in dog years you'd be, I think it was like 60 or something. So apparently I was about 60 for a while. I didn't really want to be that old. But like I say, it was my mum's suggestion, and because I really liked that my mum was playing along with it, I would sort of go with whatever suggestions she sort of made. She used to call it La La Land, by the way. That's the term we sort of went with, you know, with me having this persona and having these imaginary friends. She called it La La Land, and that was living in La La Land. And we used to have a lot of arguments about it, like that I can't just live in La La Land and I've got to come back to reality sometimes. And but I really didn't want to. I was really in a place back then where I really had to be in La La Land all the time. Yeah, I know it's like weird, but this is just my experience that I went through, and you know, I wanted to share it with you guys because it's more than just a transgender story. It's like all of this stuff. I've never told anybody about this before because I was sort of brought up to be ashamed of stuff like that. Like, I guess most kids, you know, have imaginary friends when they're like 5 or something, so I guess 12 was a bit old. But I shouldn't have to be like ashamed of it. I should be able to tell my story, shouldn't I? Because that's just how it was for me. That's how I felt. I felt like I really needed this fantasy life. I call it the fantasy life now. I don't call it La La Land anymore, because La La Land means like it's goo goo gaga, it's rubbish, it's crap, you know, it's shit. You know, when people talk about La La Land, you know, that's what they think of. You know, they think of it as just, you know, weird and too out there. So I just call it fantasy world, which I still have. I still have like a fantasy world to this day. That's so cool. But you know, I'm more removed from it now. Like I know when to be that character, because I still, like I say, I still have, although it's not the same character as when I was 12, I still have a male persona who is kind of part of me, but I don't act like that character all the time like I did when I was 12. Now I'm more me more of the time, you know, the real me more of the time, and it's sort of removed. It's part of me, but it's removed from me. So I still have those. And still to this day, I kind of want to still be male. I still feel like I'm kind of transgender, but I also have accepted that I am female. And, you know, I kind of partly like it. Like, it has its good points, which I will explain for you guys in a bit. You know, I'm going to list for me, the good points about being female, and I'm also going to list the bad points as well. Why to this day I still prefer to be male. You know, if someone came to me and gave me a choice, like, you know, would you like to continue as female or would you like to change to male at this stage in your life and live the rest of your life as a male, I'd probably say, can I be a male? You know, I probably would pick male. But I'm just sort of accepting being female because I've sort of got no choice. You know, I sort of have to, because I will also explain to you guys the reason why I changed my mind from being trans male back to sort of being female and just accepting it. I'll tell you the reason. I don't want you guys to think, oh, well, you're not really transgender then, if you know, because you know, you weren't serious about it. You weren't, oh, you know, you didn't sort of go through with it or whatever, or continue even without the surgery, because it's also perfectly acceptable to continue being trans without, you know, having the complete transition. But as you can see, I've not committed to it, have I? I've not committed to like dressing like a boy and having short hair and calling myself Roy or whatever. So, you guys might think, oh, well, you're not serious then. You were never a transgender. You were just kidding yourself, or you were just pretending, or what? I don't know. Whatever people think, because I used to be really like thinking about that back then. My mum used to say, well, if they think that you're not really transgender, you don't really want to be a boy, if you don't really commit to it, then they're not going to believe you, and they're not going to allow you to, like change gender. So I used to be really, sort of worried about that people wouldn't take me seriously, because I spent like the first sort of 10, 11 years of my life being okay with being a girl and like being a really girly girl. So I thought, oh, they're not going to take me seriously, and they're not going to really think that I'm, I am a girl, a boy trapped in a girl's body. So my mum said, oh, before you transition, you'll have to sort of go to therapy for several years. And that's only when you're 18. So when you're 18, you go to therapy for several years, and then they do it. So, I did worry about that. My mum said it's only valid if you sort of if I showed signs early on. It's only valid if I showed signs early on in my childhood of wanting to be the opposite gender. Then I would, she would believe me more and not think it was just a phase. But I don't really think it was a phase. Like, even to this day, I still, I still feel like I was right back then. But anyway, so, yes, I'll tell you the reason why I decided not to go through with the transition. Part of it's complicated, but the main reason why I decided not to do it, even though I could have remained still transgender but without transitioning. So there's two reasons for both of those things. So the reason why I decided not to transition and have the surgeries is not because I came to my sense and thought, oh no, I'm a girl and I'm silly, I don't really want to be a boy. It's not like I really changed my mind. The thing that changed my mind from having the surgery in particular, or the hormone replacements, or whatever it is it entails, was because my mum told me that even if I did transition, I would still be thought of by society as female, because it would be forever on my birth certificate. I'd have to present my birth certificate to certain people, in authority or whatever, in like official circumstances, and they would still know me as female. And I thought, so what's the point of going through all that then if I'm still going to be thought of by society as female? I didn't see the point. Like, I know it's supposed to be just for you, like it's supposed to be like, you want to like change to feel comfortable with yourself, even if society doesn't still view you as what you want to be viewed as. And that's all that's supposed to matter, is that you now feel comfortable because you're in the boy's body. But for me, it was a big part of what other people thought as well. That played a big part in it. That other people viewed me as male and only knew me as male. I didn't want to be known as transgender. I didn't want to be known as the female who wants to be male. I didn't want to be known as that. Like a lot of transgender people do, introduce themselves. Oh, hi, I'm transgender. Pleased to meet you. Like as if that's their whole identity. No, for me it was just, I want to be a man. I don't want to be transgender. I don't want to be, oh, hello, I'm a girl, but I changed into a boy. I'm a boy now. I didn't want that. I want people to just know me as male. Like I've always been male for my whole life. I didn't want my identity to be the girl who's now a man. I didn't want that to be my identity. My identity to me was just male. That's all I wanted. And I wanted everybody to only know me as male. So I thought, meeting new people would be sort of better than sort of going to people I know already, and they already know me as female. I didn't like the idea of that, because it's like, well, they'll forever think of me as female. Even if I've transitioned to male, they'll always know. And to me, that's like, what's the point? What's the point of going through the transition for people to just still think of you as the gender that you started out as, that you don't want to be known as? So I thought, there's no point, so I'm still going to be thought of as female. I'm still always going to be known as female and thought of as female that has just transitioned to male. And to me, that just didn't seem... It seemed pointless to me. To a lot of, that's just my, like I say, that's my experience, that's my thought processes. It might be different for other people. They might be cool with transitioning but still be thought of as female or male or whatever they started out as that they don't want to be, and just going up to everyone and saying, I'm transgender, I'm transgender, I'm transgender. It's like, no, I didn't want to be known as transgender, I just wanted to be known as male, to me that's the whole point. But so and apparently if you married someone, they would also get to find out, because like I say, they I guess would see your birth certificate, because you have to present that when you're getting married, and on the marriage certificate it apparently would also say that you're female, and it would have your real name. So it's like, oh great, so my spouse is also going to know I'm female, really. And I didn't want that either. Like I say, I wanted everybody from post-surgery onwards, from surgery onwards, post-surgery, from then on, I wanted to only be known as a male from that. So any new person that I would meet would just know me as male. I wouldn't say, oh hi, I'm a girl, but I'm now a boy. I wouldn't do that, because to me that would be pointless. Because again, it was all about identity and how other people perceived me. So a big part of it for me was other people thinking of me as a boy, a male. And it was also about the type of male I wanted to be as well. So I wanted to be the sort of popular boy, male, like successful male, the type that's like really charismatic and charming, and everybody liked them and thought that they were attractive. So I didn't want to be the loser type. I wanted to be like the more successful, popular one, and rich and like in power and stuff. I knew you can't just snap your fingers and get that. The only thing I could do is become male, but the rest of it would be on me. I'd have to work on the rest of it, I guess. But I'm just saying that's how I envisioned myself. Like I said, I thought that's one step towards the identity I wanted, and of course becoming 35 would happen eventually anyway. That's something that will just happen eventually anyway. Something that, I don't have to sort of change. It's not like I was going to be 12 forever. So I knew that I would eventually become 30, so I'd be a 35-year-old male after I, transitioned. And I guess the dog thing, that would just have to stay as a fantasy. That, I couldn't really do that unless I just role-played with someone where I was like a dog. Like apparently they do now. I've now discovered these other communities, not just furry, but apparently there's this other community called pups or something, like where someone is a pup, a dog basically, and they have a master, a handler, who treats them as a dog, and you can go to all these clubs whereby everybody will treat you as a dog, and you can play with other dogs, other pups and stuff. I've just discovered that. Unfortunately, of course, they're all too far away. I didn't look them up, by the way. I found all this stuff by chance, and I found out that there's one near me, but it's not near enough. The nearest one is in Manchester, and I'm not in Manchester, so, I wouldn't be able to go to that. I thought it was all in America, but apparently I found out there's sort of more local ones, so. My situation is really. I did like the idea of it, but I'm not sure about that really. But anyway, so now I said I was going to answer why, I didn't just say, well, I'm not going to transition because there's no point. But why didn't I continue being male? Why didn't I continue to dress, manly and have short hair? Well, that one's a more complicated one. It's hard to describe. It's like a personal thing that's hard to describe. And the description for it, the only explanation I can think of to describe it, it just sounds stupid and silly and, But again, it's my own personal experience, so you can't, you shouldn't judge it. But I guess at a certain point when I was about 18, I think it was. Yeah, I got to the age where I could now start, going ahead with the transition, getting the therapy and, actually transitioning. Because again, I realize now that I'm older, that it doesn't really matter what other people think. And if I do have to present my birth certificate and say, well, I used to be a girl, the thing that matters is that I'm male now, and it doesn't matter what's on my birth certificate, and it doesn't really matter what other people think. At least the official ones that you have to give your birth certificate to, or your passport that has your driving license and passport would have, your female really, and you're called Kirsty. Yeah, that's me, That's so all my real life details would be on these things that I don't want people to know. But it's only official people that would know about it, about the fact that I used to be female and called Kirsty. But anybody else in my life would know me as male. I know it sounds like I'm, bad because I'd be lying, I guess. And most of you will be thinking, well, even if you have like friends, you meet new people afterwards, and you've got to still tell them that you used to be, you've got to be honest, I suppose. But like I say, I don't see the point in that of still being thought of as female after you've transitioned. So I guess I feel like I probably could have still gone through with it now and still been happy, even if I still had to have it on my birth certificate, passports, driver's license, bus pass, whatever the hell, official documents that you'd have that would still have all your original details on. But I realise now I could still be happy. And of course now that I'm older, at this point I probably would have transitioned by now and I'd be full on male by now. There's two things wrong with that though. I'd be very short male, and that's not good. I don't mind. I wouldn't want to be like super tall, but I had to be a bit taller than this. I'm 5 foot nothing. I mean, most blokes are at least 5'5" is considered a short man. So 5 foot nothing is going to be like, midget virtually, which is nothing wrong with that. I mean, I saw a midget today at Morrison's, actually. It was pretty cool. I guess there's nothing wrong with being a short man. Remember that, guys? Nothing wrong with all these people who are always going on about, oh, you're going to be tall, I'm not dating you if you're not tall. If you're not 6 foot, I'm not dating you. I think those people are ridiculous. It doesn't matter your height. You're still manly. But I think for me, like, wanting to be a really powerful man, being really short, just kind of weird for me. Like I say, there's nothing wrong with being short, but for me, I didn't want to be a short male. So I guess that's one of the reasons why it wouldn't work. But yeah, by now I could have transitioned by now. And now I wouldn't care, it'd be like, well, I don't care if certain official people know that I'm really female. It doesn't really matter. As long as, I know I'm male now and all the people around me think of me as male and stuff, my friends and whatever, people I meet just know me as male, because I wouldn't go up and introduce myself and say, oh yes, by the way, I'm really female, I've just transitioned. I wouldn't do that. Like I say, I would just let them think I'm male, because that's what I want to be thought of as, not female to male. I just want to be male, and that's it. But anyway, yes. So it was about when I was 18 that I decided, and the reason why is because I, as a male, when doing the whole transgender thing with my short hair and dressing like a male, I absolutely hated the way I look, and everybody hated me. Like, everybody actually hated me. There was a few people who liked me, but it wasn't many. So I figured, maybe I'd be more popular as a girl. And I was kind of curious to know at this age, 18, what I would look like as a girl. What it would be like to be a girl again after I'd been male for so long. I was like, like I say, male between like 12 and 18. Actually 19, technically it was 19 when I decided to start growing my hair and, looking like a girl again and dressing like a girl again and getting my first girly clothes. I was about 19 when that happened. And I found that, it worked, and I did actually get treated better as a girl. And I thought I looked better as a girl as well. So, but I know that most people think that it makes that invalid. So like that was just a phase or something, and I wasn't really transgender. But I don't feel like that. I feel like, I am still truly transgender, because like I've said, if I had a choice, I'd still be male. It's just all the stuff you have to go through. surgeries and therapy and stuff. I didn't think it was worth going through all that for it to still say officially I'm female after all that. I just, at the time, I didn't think it was worth it. Now I think it probably could have been worth it, but part of me thinks if I become a male now, like, I'd miss out on being a girl. Like, I don't know how my life would be like. Do you know what I mean? It's just really hard. Plus, my situation's weird. It's like, this is not really a male situation. Like, to still be living at home with the mother and sort of, like, because males are, like, really independent and they're, like, traveling all over the place and they're going, all over the place and stuff. So it's just like really hard. I don't know. Because I have male friends who do still live with their parents, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. It's great. I don't mind it. I like it. And it's not that I don't like it or I think that they're losers or anything. It's just that they are still actually, considering they are living with their parents, they still are very independent. Whereas, although I am a bit independent, I'm not like as independent as some. Mainly because I've sort of, you guys know I'm a carer for my mum, so, I have to be with my mum all the time. I can't go gallivanting off everywhere like most people can that still live with their parents but don't have any obligations. So all in all, I guess I would, at this stage, identify as gender fluid because I do go between the two. I sometimes feel more male and sometimes I feel more female, and I do occasionally dress male sometimes. I'll wear a suit, or I'll wear t-shirts and, trousers and, I'll probably put my hair up or something to make it look like I've got short hair, or I have got a wig, I've got a male wig, but I wouldn't go out in it because, I don't know, I'm not really brave enough to go out in that wig, but it doesn't look too bad. But you guys have seen me wear the wig, so it's okay for just like wearing around the house. And yeah, but on a regular basis I do kind of feel silly, dressing as a boy now. I feel like in real life I've committed more to being female, and in my fantasy life I'm mainly male, which is more private. So it's just something that I still have that's a part of me, this character that I'm being, and that I occasionally roleplay as with people who also roleplay. So yes, that's my story, and I am still like, sometimes I do think, maybe I should be male again. But to be honest with you, I kind of don't want to commit too much to that because it means I have to cut my hair, and it's taken me years to grow this now. And I just don't look good with short hair. I just look horrible. Some women can pull off looking male, but I really can't. I just look horrible. I look, in mine and other people's words, ugly. I have been called ugly when I was in my boy stage and I had the short hair and dressing like a boy. I was called ugly. And believe you me, I saw the pictures and videos and I thought, oh my god, yeah, I am. When I got older and grew my hair out, I still had a boy's haircut, but it was like a bit longer. I thought I looked fine, but it's like with the mega short hair, like inch. It was like, now I never wanted it that short, by the way. All those years when I had my hair that short, being a boy, I never wanted it that short. It's just that the hairdressers or barbers would keep cutting it that short. Like an inch or a couple of inches. But I would always say I'd like to keep some length, like it to be about, like maybe that. So I can sort of spike it up and still style it and everything. There's nothing much you can do when your hair's like this long, is it? So, I wanted something to work with and to sort of stick out and make wispy and spiky and all that, because I really liked, the anime characters. Like, I loved Tai from Digimon, so I kind of wanted my hair like that. And then I saw like emo haircuts, and I really wanted my hair like that, the male emo, where it would be like long here and like side swept fringe and everything, and it would be like all spiky at the back. I really wanted that, and I tried to explain this hairstyle to hairdressers and barbers, but they could never get it right, and they ended up just doing it really short, so I couldn't do the emo style with it. So yeah, but there was a time, and I think I was about 18 when this happened. I did manage to get them to, well, I actually had it done for the first time, sort of. I finally grew out my hair, and I had it cut like the style of the time, which was layers and side swept fringe. But it looked awful, so when I got home the next day, I cut it myself, and I actually made it look more like the scene emo hairstyle that I'd always wanted. I managed to do that myself. Yeah, I went through when I was about, I don't know what age I was, I think I was about 15. My mum cut my hair for me, and she managed to get it into the style I wanted. So for a few years I had hair I actually wanted, not this really tiny, spiky, horrible, like a freaking convict or whatever. You know, I didn't want to look like that. But that's when I looked ugly. But I look better with longer hair, even if it was just like this length and spiky. I look better with more hair. So I went through years of looking ugly because I couldn't get people to do the hairstyle I wanted. I'd always say, don't cut too much off, I don't want it too short, but they would just take no notice, and off it went to half an inch to an inch long. Anyways, that's my story, so thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to look at earlier videos, because it helps me a lot. Bye-bye.